Welcome back to Good Morning Arkansas, live look on our high-definition Milton heat and air camera across West Little Rock. We want to welcome Paul Smith. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
You are currently the Director of Consumer Research, Procter & Gamble, up in Cincinnati, Ohio, an Arkansas native, and you may recognize this guy because 7th grade, you were on the Bozo Show here on Channel 7.
That's right. I'm sure I looked exactly the same.
Exactly. That's why you may recognize it, but yeah. We're proud to see Arkansans do so well. But you're working in Cincinnati, Ohio, and tell us a little bit about your background here in Arkansas.
Yeah, so I grew up, I'm born in Little Rock, grew up in Conway, went to Conway High, Hendrix College, and then moved away, and I only came back for about 3 or 4 years. I lived up in the Fayetteville area for a little while, but I've spent the last 20 years or so working for P&G all over the country.
All right, welcome back, and you wrote a book, Lead with the Story. Yeah. What's this all about? Yeah,
so it's definitely a leadership book for people, not just in business, but doctors, lawyers,
even
news anchors, even meteorologists. But it's admittedly teaching leadership with probably an unlikely way to do it, and that's using storytelling instead of just bossing people around.
Yeah, normally you think of leadership and your boss is telling you what to do.
Right.
But you have a unique way of going about this.
Right.
What are some of the examples of some of these stories?
So for example, a colleague of mine that's a consumer researcher like me back in the 80s, he was working on a brand of cooking shortening, so like Crisco that would come in those big tubs. You remember those?
Oh, yeah.
And so they were trying to figure out why people were still buying lard and cooking with lard when it was been proven over and over again that shortening is much better for you. And so they were interviewing this one woman, and she said something that just surprised them. She said, well, I know that shortening is healthier, but it's better for my kids if I buy lard. And of course that made no sense to them, so he had to ask, well, why would that be? And she said, well, if I buy shortening, I can't afford to buy milk. And I got growing kids and they need their milk instead of just drinking tap water, so I buy lard and milk. Now, you can imagine Jim, my colleague, that like hit him right here. I mean, it's the first time he'd really understood the difficult choices a struggling single mom has to make with the expensive price of his product. And so they interviewed hundreds of people, and I'm sure they wrote up a fancy research report with a bunch of statistics on the answers, but that story that he told about that one woman back at the office made a much bigger difference in getting people to think about, maybe we should lower the price of our product than all the statistics in the research report. So that kind of a story can have an enormous impact.
Knowing real people who your business, your product affects.
Right.
And knowing real stories, and not, like you said, numbers on a book. So you interviewed CEOs from all over the country, including Arkansas, to get the data and to get the stories.
Right. In fact, all over the world, probably 75 different executives at companies all over the world, and several right here in Arkansas. Probably, some of the names you might recognize, the last 3 CEOs of Procter & Gamble. So Bob McDonald is the CEO there now, but Sarah Matthew, the CEO of Dun & Bradstreet, John Bryant, the CEO of the Kellogg's company up in Michigan, CEO of Dollar General, but some local folks as well. So I interviewed Pledger Monk down at the Merrill Lynch building, not too far from here. Melissa Moody, the owner of Excel Models and Talent right here in town, and even a lawyer that's fairly prominent in town, Jerry Jones, who used to work at the Rose Law Firm, I believe is at Axiom now. So I got a lot of local support for this as well.
All right, so some very successful and influential people from the community and around the world shared their leadership stories in this book, which is available for sale, and you're going to be at Barnes & Noble.
That's right, yeah, tomorrow afternoon right here in West Little Rock.
Over on Financial Center Parkway?
Exactly, I think 3 to 5 o'clock. So if you don't hear enough stories now, you can come and I'll probably tell a few there.
So from 3 until 5, he's going to be at Barnes & Noble in West Little Rock for a book signing. Pick it up. Lead with the story.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Welcome back to Arkansas. Hope it's a huge success.
Good to be here.
All right.